I never thought my marriage would end up as the worst nightmare of my life. Molly and I met during our sophomore year in college. She was captivating, intelligent, funny, and breathtakingly beautiful. We started dating soon after, and our chemistry was undeniable. After graduation, we got married and began building our life together. I was confident that we had a perfect relationship, but sometimes perfection is just an illusion. We had been married for 12 years when things started to change. At first, I dismissed the little things: Molly's increased interest in her appearance, the late nights at work, and the secretive phone calls. I was too busy with my job at the law firm to pay much attention. However, these subtle changes gradually became more pronounced. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, knowing there was nothing I could do to stop it. One evening, I decided to surprise Molly by picking her up from work for a dinner date. She had been working a lot of overtime recently, and I thought it would be a nice gesture. When I arrived at her office, I found it empty and dark. Confused, I called her. She answered breathlessly, saying she was just leaving a late meeting and would be home soon. Something in her voice sounded off, but I didn't press further. It was the first real hint that something might be wrong. Days turned into weeks, and my suspicions grew. Molly became increasingly distant, her explanations for her absences more and more implausible. I tried to confront her gently, asking if everything was okay, but she brushed off my concerns, accusing me of being paranoid. I wanted to believe her, but the gnawing feeling in my gut wouldn't let me. Our physical relationship also started to suffer. Molly would often reject my advances, claiming she was tired or stressed. When we did connect, it felt forced and devoid of any real intimacy. It was as if a wall had been erected between us, and I couldn't understand why. I began to feel like a stranger in my own home. One day, while cleaning the house, I found an unfamiliar set of keys in Molly's purse. They didn't belong to our house, her car, or her office. I asked her about them, and she snapped at me, saying they were for a friend's apartment that she was looking after while they were away. Her reaction was so defensive that it only heightened my suspicions. Then came the day that shattered my world. I was working from home, going through some files, when I received a message from an unknown number. It was a series of photos of Molly with another man in compromising positions, sent by someone who claimed to be her lover's wife. The man in the photos was none other than Molly's stepbrother, Greg. I was in shock, unable to process the betrayal. Greg and Molly had always been close, but I never imagined anything inappropriate between them. I felt a mix of anger, humiliation, and heartbreak. My mind raced with questions. How long had this been going on? Was I the last to know? Desperate for answers, I decided to gather more evidence before confronting Molly. I started monitoring her phone, checking her emails, and even following her when she left the house. It didn't take long to confirm my worst fears. The affair was real, and it had been going on for months. The final straw came when I overheard a conversation between Molly and Greg. She was complaining about our marriage, saying that I never understood her, that I was too focused on my career, and that Greg was the only one who truly loved her. Her words cut through me like a knife. I realized that Molly didn't just cheat on me, she despised me. My initial reaction was to confront her in a rage, but I decided against it. I needed a plan, something that would make her realize the gravity of her actions. Divorce was a given, but it wasn't enough. Molly's lack of remorse and her utter disregard for our vows demanded a more severe response. I would make sure she regretted ever crossing me, but I would do it within the bounds of the law. And thus began my journey towards calculated revenge, making sure Molly faced the consequences of her actions, step by step. After the initial shock of discovering Molly's betrayal, I spent a sleepless night contemplating my next move. Confronting her directly in a fit of rage would have been satisfying, but I wanted something more lasting. I wanted Molly to feel the weight of her actions every single day. To do this, I needed help, and the first person who came to mind was my old college friend, Kerry. Kerry and I had been close since our university days. He was a brilliant IT specialist, known for his ability to dig up information and make things happen behind the scenes. More importantly, he was fiercely loyal and had always had my back. If anyone could help me execute a plan for revenge within the bounds of the law, it was Kerry. The next day I called him and asked if we could meet up. We decided on a small, out-of-the-way coffee shop where we could talk without being overheard. As I walked in, I saw Kerry already seated in a corner booth, his laptop open in front of him. "Thomas, it's been a while," he said, standing up to give me a firm handshake. "You sounded urgent on the phone. What's going on?" I took a deep breath and launched into the story, sparing no details. Kerry listened intently, his expression shifting from concern to anger as I described Molly's betrayal and my plan for revenge. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. "Wow, Thomas, that's intense. I'm really sorry you're going through this. But I get it. You want to make sure she faces the consequences. So, what's the plan?" I outlined my initial thoughts, which centered around exposing Molly and Greg's affair in a way that would hit them both hard. I wanted to gather irrefutable evidence, make it public, and ensure that Molly lost the respect and social standing she seemed to care so much about. Kerry nodded, a glint of determination in his eyes. "Okay," he said, closing his laptop. "We can definitely do this, but we need to be smart about it. First, we need to gather all the evidence we can, photos, messages, anything that proves their affair. We also need to document any assets that Molly might try to claim in the divorce. Once we have everything, we'll plan the best way to release it." Kerry's analytical approach reassured me. He pulled out his phone and started typing, already organizing our next steps. "I can set up some surveillance on her phone and laptop," he said. "We'll get access to her messages, emails, and social media. I can also track her movements to gather more evidence of her meetings with Greg." "Won't that be illegal?" I asked, concerned about crossing any lines. "Not if we do it right," Kerry replied. "We'll use software that leaves no trace. Plus, we won't hack into anything. We'll just monitor what she willingly puts out there. Trust me, Thomas, I know what I'm doing." Over the next few weeks, Kerry and I worked tirelessly to gather evidence. He set up surveillance on Molly's phone and laptop, and it didn't take long for us to accumulate a mountain of incriminating evidence. Texts, emails, and even photos of Molly and Greg together. The more we found, the more my resolve hardened. One evening, while reviewing the latest batch of data Kerry had pulled, we stumbled upon something particularly damning. A series of emails between Molly and Greg where they discussed their future together, mocking me and detailing their plans to take over our assets once the divorce was finalized. Molly even mentioned trying to get full custody of our daughter Emma to hurt me further. The cold, calculating nature of their words made my blood boil. "That's it," I said, slamming my fist on the table. "We need to make this public. They need to be exposed for the world to see." Kerry nodded, his face grim. "Agreed. But we need to do it in a way that ensures maximum impact. We'll compile everything into a comprehensive file and send it to key people in Molly and Greg's lives, friends, family, colleagues. We'll also make sure it gets to the right places online." We spent the next few days meticulously compiling the evidence, creating a dossier that laid out the entire affair in excruciating detail. When it was ready, Kerry used his network to distribute it. The fallout was immediate and brutal. The scandal spread like wildfire. Molly's friends and family were horrified. Her colleagues were shocked and disgusted. Greg's reputation took a massive hit, and the repercussions at his workplace were severe. The affair that they had so carefully hidden was now out in the open, and they had nowhere to hide. But this was just the beginning. I still had more planned for Molly. The next steps would ensure that she felt the consequences of her betrayal for a long time to come. With the first phase of our plan successfully executed, I felt a grim satisfaction as the scandal around Molly and Greg's affair exploded. However, I wasn't done. I needed undeniable in-person proof of their betrayal to finalize my revenge. This required catching them in the act, and with Kerry's help, I knew just how to do it. Kerry had installed a tracking app on Molly's phone that allowed us to monitor her movements in real time. For the past few days, we had been keeping a close eye on her locations. She often visited a particular address that wasn't familiar to me. After a bit of research, we discovered it was Greg's house. The pattern was clear. Every few days, usually in the afternoon, she would go there and stay for several hours. I decided that the next time she went to Greg's house, I would confront them and capture everything on video. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing it firsthand, but it was necessary to ensure there was no way for them to deny what they'd done. A few days later, the opportunity presented itself. Molly's phone showed that she was heading to Greg's house once again. I quickly texted Kerry. "She's heading there now. Meet me at the usual spot." Kerry replied almost immediately. "Got it. Be there in 10. I grabbed my phone and a small video camera, then headed out. Kerry and I met a few blocks from Greg's house. He handed me a small, discreet device that looked like a regular key fob, but was actually a high-quality hidden camera. "This will give you clear footage," he said. "Just press this button to start and stop recording. Make sure you get their faces and anything incriminating." I nodded, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. "Let's do this." We parked a little way down the street from Greg's house, waiting for the right moment. As we watched, I saw Molly's car pull into the driveway. She got out, looking around nervously, and hurried inside. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal, but I pushed it down, focusing on the task at hand. "All right, it's go time," I said, gripping the camera tightly. Kerry stayed in the car, monitoring the feed from Molly's phone while I approached the house. The front door was locked, but I knew there was a side door that Greg often left unlocked. I walked around to the side of the house and tried the door. It opened easily. Taking a deep breath, I slipped inside, moving as quietly as possible. The house was eerily silent, save for the occasional sound of movement coming from upstairs. I crept up the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the top, I heard unmistakable sounds of passion coming from one of the bedrooms. I took out the key fob camera and pressed the button to start recording. Steeling myself, I pushed the bedroom door open. The sight that greeted me was both devastating and vindicating. Molly and Greg, wrapped in each other's arms, completely unaware of my presence. "What the hell is going on here?" I shouted, my voice shaking with anger. Molly and Greg froze, their eyes wide with shock and fear. Molly scrambled to cover herself while Greg jumped up, trying to grab his clothes. "Thomas, what are you doing here?" Molly stammered, her face pale. "I could ask you the same thing," I replied, holding up the camera, "but I think we all know the answer." Greg tried to move toward me, but I stepped back, keeping the camera trained on them. "Stay right there. This is all going to be on record." "You bastard!" Greg shouted, his face red with anger. "You can't do this!" "Oh, I can and I will," I said coldly. "This is what you get for betraying me." Molly started to cry, but I felt no sympathy. She had made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. I kept recording for another few moments, ensuring I had clear evidence of their affair. Then I turned and walked out, leaving them to their shame. As I walked back to the car, I felt a strange sense of relief. The final piece of evidence was in my hands. Kerry was waiting, his face grim but supportive. "Did you get it?" he asked. I nodded, holding up the camera. "I got everything." "Good," he said. "Now we can move to the next phase." We drove back to Kerry's place, where we reviewed the footage and made sure it was clear and unmistakable. With this video, there would be no way for Molly or Greg to deny their affair. I felt a grim satisfaction as I imagined the fallout that would come next. But more importantly, I felt a sense of closure. Molly and Greg had betrayed me in the worst possible way, but now they would face the consequences of their actions. And I could finally start to move on, knowing that I had done everything in my power to hold them accountable. As Kerry and I finalized our plans for the next steps, I felt a renewed sense of determination. This was far from over, but I was ready for whatever came next. The fallout from the video was swift and brutal. Within days, everyone in Molly and Greg's circles had seen it. The reactions were predictably harsh: condemnation, disgust, and disbelief. Molly's reputation was in tatters, and she found herself increasingly isolated. But the most painful blow came from her own family. Molly's parents were devastated. They had always seen our marriage as a model of stability and love. When they found out about her affair, they were both heartbroken and furious. Her mother called me, sobbing, to apologize for her daughter's actions and to express her disappointment in Molly. Her father, normally a stoic man, couldn't hide his anger when he called, his voice shaking with rage as he promised to support me in whatever I needed to do next. But it was Molly's cousin, Julie, who took a different approach. Known for her biting humor and penchant for making jokes at others' expense, Julie didn't miss a single opportunity to torment Molly about her affair. At family gatherings, she would make snide comments and cutting remarks, ensuring that everyone's attention was drawn to Molly's disgrace. One evening, a family dinner turned into a public roast. Julie, with a smirk on her face, raised her glass and said, "Here's to Molly, always keeping it in the family, right?" Molly's face turned bright red and she looked down at her plate, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The room fell silent for a moment before someone awkwardly changed the subject, but the damage was done. Molly's position in the family was now one of ridicule and shame. While Molly dealt with her familial fallout, I focused on taking the next steps in securing my future and protecting our daughter, Emma. The video evidence, along with the other materials Kerry and I had gathered, made it clear that divorce was the only option. I wanted it to be swift and decisive, ensuring that Molly received as little as possible from our shared assets. I contacted my lawyer, Mr. Collins, a no-nonsense professional known for his efficiency and expertise in family law. We met in his office, a sleek modern space that exuded competence and control. "Thomas," he greeted me, shaking my hand firmly. "I've reviewed the materials you sent over. It's quite a case you have here." "Thanks, Mr. Collins. I just want to make sure this is handled as quickly and cleanly as possible," I replied, taking a seat across from his desk. "We can definitely do that," he assured me. "With the evidence we have, it's clear-cut. We'll file for divorce on the grounds of infidelity, and given the circumstances, you'll have a strong case for custody of Emma." We spent the next hour going over the details. Mr. Collins outlined the steps we would take, ensuring that I understood every part of the process. His calm, methodical approach was reassuring, and by the end of our meeting I felt confident that we were on the right track. That evening I returned home and sat down with Emma to explain what was happening. It was one of the hardest conversations I'd ever had, but I knew she needed to hear the truth. "Emma, sweetie," I began, sitting next to her on the couch, "there's something I need to talk to you about." She looked up from her book, her innocent eyes wide with curiosity. "What is it, Dad?" "Your mom and we're getting a divorce," I said gently. "We both love you very much, but we can't stay together. It's nothing you did. This is between your mom and me." Tears welled up in her eyes and she hugged me tightly. "I don't want you to get a divorce, Dad." "I know, honey, I know," I said, holding her close. "But sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to. We're going to make sure you're okay, though. You'll still see your mom and me. We both love you so much." Over the next few weeks, the divorce proceedings moved forward. Molly was served with the papers, and her reaction was predictably dramatic. She begged for another chance, pleaded with me to reconsider. But my mind was made up. The betrayal was too deep, the damage too severe. Her family's attitude towards her didn't help. They sided with me, making it clear that they were disappointed and disgusted by her actions. Julie's relentless teasing continued, turning family events into nightmares for Molly. Her once proud demeanor was replaced with a sullen, defeated attitude, and she withdrew further from everyone around her. Despite the chaos and emotional turmoil, I felt a sense of resolve. This was the right path. I would protect Emma and ensure she had a stable, loving environment to grow up in. Molly's betrayal had shattered our marriage, but it wouldn't destroy our lives. I would rebuild, stronger and more determined than ever. As the divorce case progressed, I kept in close contact with Kerry. His support and expertise had been invaluable, and I knew I could count on him for whatever came next. Together, we would ensure that justice was served, and Molly would face the full consequences of her actions. With the divorce proceedings underway and Molly facing the wrath of her family, I decided it was time to ensure she couldn't take advantage of me financially. I wanted to make sure Emma's future was secure and that Molly couldn't claim more than she deserved. With Kerry's help, we delved into the financial records to uncover any hidden transactions that might reveal further deceit. Kerry, being the tech wizard he was, set up a system to monitor Molly's bank accounts and credit card transactions. What we found was shocking. Not only had Molly been spending lavishly on herself, but she had also been funneling money to Greg. Thousands of dollars had been transferred to his account over the past few months, disguised as payments for various services. "Thomas, you need to see this," Kerry said one evening, his face grim as he pointed to the screen. "Molly's been siphoning off funds from your joint account to support Greg. This isn't just infidelity, it's financial abuse." I stared at the screen, my anger simmering. "Unbelievable. She's been using our hard-earned money to fund her affair. This changes everything." Kerry nodded. "We need to compile all of this evidence and present it to your lawyer. It will strengthen your case and ensure she gets as little as possible in the divorce settlement." We spent the next few days gathering and organizing the financial records, creating a detailed report that outlined every suspicious transaction. I felt a sense of vindication as we worked, knowing that Molly's deceit would be exposed in every possible way. When we were done, I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Collins to present our findings. As I walked into his office, he greeted me with a firm handshake and a look of concern. "Thomas, good to see you. What do you have for me?" I handed him the file and he began to read through the evidence. His eyes widened as he absorbed the information. "This is substantial. With this evidence, we can argue that she has not only betrayed you emotionally, but also financially. The court will not look kindly on this." "Exactly," I replied. "I want to make sure Emma is taken care of and that Molly doesn't walk away with more than she deserves." Mr. Collins nodded. "We'll present this to the court. This will significantly impact the divorce settlement and custody arrangements. You've done the right thing by gathering this evidence." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of court appearances and legal proceedings. Molly's attempts to play the victim fell flat as the evidence of her financial betrayal was laid out before the judge. Her pleas for leniency were met with skepticism, and it was clear that the court was not sympathetic to her situation. During one particularly tense court session, the judge addressed Molly directly. "Mrs. Adams, the evidence presented here is damning. Your actions have shown a clear pattern of deceit and financial misconduct. This court cannot, in good conscience, award you a substantial portion of the marital assets or full custody of your daughter." Molly's face crumpled, and she glanced at me with a look of desperation. I felt no sympathy. She had made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. I was granted primary custody of Emma, with Molly receiving limited visitation rights. The financial settlement was minimal, ensuring that she couldn't benefit from her betrayal. It was a hard-won victory, but one that brought a sense of closure and justice. As the dust settled, I focused on rebuilding my life. Emma and I moved into a new house, far away from the memories of our old life. I wanted a fresh start for both of us, a place where we could heal and move forward. Kerry continued to be a steadfast friend, helping me navigate the complexities of single parenthood and offering support whenever I needed it. Molly's life, on the other hand, continued to unravel. Her relationship with Greg fell apart under the strain of public scrutiny and financial hardship. She was left with nothing but the bitter consequences of her actions. Julie's relentless teasing didn't help, and Molly found herself increasingly isolated from her family and friends. One evening, as Emma and I sat on our porch watching the sunset, I felt a sense of peace that had been absent for so long. Emma looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and hope. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" I smiled and hugged her tightly. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going to be just fine. We have each other, and that's all we need." In the quiet of that moment, I realized that despite the pain and betrayal, we had come out stronger on the other side. I had learned to trust myself again, to stand up for what was right, and to protect those I loved. Molly's betrayal had broken my heart, but it had also taught me the true value of loyalty and integrity. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new and better chapter in our lives. While most of Molly's relatives turned their backs on her after the scandal, there was one person who stood firmly by her side, her Uncle Sam. Sam was a burly, bearded man with a stern face and a formidable presence. He ran a farm in a neighboring state and was known for his unconventional views and gruff demeanor. According to him, any woman who cheated did so because her husband failed to love her properly. To Sam, it was as simple as that. Molly, feeling isolated and desperate, decided to escape the growing hostility by seeking refuge at Sam's farm. She needed a place where she wouldn't be judged, and where she could find some semblance of peace. Sam welcomed her with open arms, offering her a sanctuary away from the prying eyes and harsh judgments of society. Meanwhile, rumors about Sam's reaction to the divorce began to circulate. I heard through the grapevine that Sam had been calling me all sorts of names, blaming me entirely for the breakdown of our marriage. According to him, I had driven Molly into Greg's arms by neglecting her and failing to provide the love and attention she needed. His accusations stung, even though I knew they were baseless. It seemed that Sam wouldn't let this situation go easily. One afternoon, while I was at home preparing dinner, my phone buzzed with a text from an old friend who lived near Sam's farm. "Hey, just heard that Molly's staying with her Uncle Sam. Word is he's pretty riled up about the divorce. You might want to be careful." I sighed and put down the knife I was using to chop vegetables. The last thing I needed was more drama, but I couldn't ignore the potential threat that Sam posed. He was known for his temper and his strong sense of family loyalty. If he decided to come after me, things could get ugly. A few days later, as I was picking Emma up from school, I received another call from the same friend. "Thomas, I just saw Sam in town. He was talking to some guys about you, and he didn't sound happy. He said something about making sure you paid for what you did to Molly. Thought you should know." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. This was escalating faster than I had anticipated. I needed to figure out a way to protect myself and Emma without provoking Sam further. That evening, I sat down with Kerry to discuss the situation. He had been my rock through the entire ordeal, and I trusted his judgment implicitly. "Kerry, I've been hearing some unsettling things about Molly's Uncle Sam. He's blaming me for everything and making threats. I'm worried he might actually try to do something." Kerry frowned, leaning back in his chair. "That's not good, Thomas. Sam's a big guy with a lot of influence in his community. We need to be careful. Have you thought about getting a restraining order?" "I have, but I'm not sure it will be enough. Sam lives in another state, and by the time he gets here, who knows what could happen. I don't want to live in fear, but I also don't want to provoke him." Kerry nodded thoughtfully. "We need to take some precautions. Install security cameras around your house and make sure you have a good alarm system. I can help set everything up. Also, let the local police know about the situation. They can keep an eye out for any trouble." Over the next few days, Kerry and I worked to secure my home. We installed cameras at every entrance and set up a high-tech alarm system that would alert both me and the police at the first sign of trouble. I also had a discreet conversation with the local police chief, explaining the situation and asking for extra patrols around my neighborhood. Despite the measures we took, the thought of Sam showing up unannounced still made me uneasy. His loyalty to Molly, coupled with his anger towards me, made him unpredictable. I had to stay vigilant and be prepared for anything. One evening, while I was watching TV with Emma, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered it anyway. "Thomas, this is Sam." My heart skipped a beat. "Sam, what do you want?" "I just wanted to have a man-to-man talk," he said, his voice calm but menacing. "You hurt Molly. You didn't love her right. And now you're dragging her through the mud. I don't take kindly to that. Sam, I understand you're upset, but this isn't just my fault. Molly made her own choices. She had an affair, and I have the right to protect myself and my daughter." "Choices, huh?" Sam scoffed. "You pushed her to it. You need to take responsibility, and if you don't, I'll make sure you do." The threat was clear and my blood ran cold. "Sam, stay away from me and my family. If you come near us, I'll call the police. I'd like to see you try," he growled before hanging up. I sat there staring at the phone, my heart pounding. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Sam was determined to make me pay, and I had to be ready. I tightened my resolve, knowing that I couldn't let him intimidate me. Emma and I deserved to move on with our lives, free from fear and threats. As I tucked Emma into bed that night, I promised myself that I would do whatever it took to protect her. Molly's betrayal had already caused enough damage, and I wouldn't let her uncle add to it. This was my fight now, and I was ready. Living on the outskirts of the city had always provided a sense of tranquility. Our house, nestled among tall trees and surrounded by the beauty of nature, felt like a safe haven. There was only one path leading out, winding through the forest before reaching the highway. It was a peaceful place, perfect for raising a child like Emma, but that peace was shattered one sunny afternoon. Emma loved playing in the forest, often spending hours exploring and collecting treasures. I usually kept a close eye on her, but on this particular day I was preoccupied with some work. I let her go off on her own, trusting in the safety of our familiar surroundings. "Stay close, sweetie, and don't go too far," I called after her as she skipped towards the trees. "Okay, Dad," she replied, her voice filled with the joy of childhood. An hour passed, and I realized I hadn't heard her laughter or footsteps for a while. I stepped out onto the porch, calling her name. "Emma, time to come back." Silence. My heart skipped a beat. I walked down the path a little, calling out again. "Emma, where are you?" Still no answer. Panic began to set in. I ran back into the house, grabbed my phone, and called Kerry. "Emma's gone. I can't find her. She was playing in the forest, and now she's not answering." "Stay calm, Thomas. I'll be there in 10 minutes, Kerry replied, his voice steady. "We'll find her." I hung up and ran back outside, shouting Emma's name at the top of my lungs. I combed through the trees, searching for any sign of her. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Could she have gotten lost, hurt, or a more terrifying thought, could someone have taken her? Kerry arrived quickly, bringing some additional help. We formed a search party, fanning out through the forest calling for Emma. Hours passed with no sign of her. My panic turned to dread. It wasn't until evening that a neighbor approached me, looking concerned. "Thomas, I heard you're looking for Emma. I saw a truck earlier today around the time she went missing. It was parked at the edge of the forest and then it was gone." A cold chill ran down my spine. "What kind of truck?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Big, old, with a lot of rust. I think it had out-of-state plates." I immediately thought of Sam. He had a truck like that, and he was the only person I could think of who might have taken Emma. I grabbed my phone and called Mr. Collins, explaining the situation and my suspicions. "We need to act fast," he said. "I'll contact the police and let them know about Sam. In the meantime, don't do anything rash. Let the authorities handle this." I nodded, though my mind was already spinning with thoughts of driving to Sam's farm myself. The police arrived shortly after, taking statements and organizing a broader search. They assured me they would do everything possible to find Emma, but it was little comfort. As night fell, I sat on the porch, unable to sleep, waiting for any news. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I answered it, my heart in my throat. "Thomas," came Sam's gruff voice. "I've got Emma. Don't bother calling the police. She's safe with me." My blood boiled. "Sam, you have no right to take her. Bring her back now, or I swear." "Or you'll what?" Sam interrupted, his tone menacing. "You've done enough damage. Emma's better off with family who can take care of her properly. You've proven you're unfit." "You have no idea what you're doing," I snarled. "Bring her back, or I'll make sure you regret it." Sam chuckled darkly. "Try it, Thomas, just try it." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking with rage. This wasn't just about the divorce or Molly anymore. This was about my daughter's safety. The police advised caution, planning to secure a warrant and coordinate with authorities in Sam's state. But I knew time was of the essence. I called Kerry, explaining the situation. "I can't just sit here," I said. "I have to go get her." "Thomas, think this through. Sam's dangerous. Let the police handle it." "No," I said firmly. "This is my fight. I need to get my daughter back." Kerry sighed, knowing there was no changing my mind. "All right, I'm coming with you. We'll be smarter together. But we have to be careful." We packed up and headed out, driving through the night toward Sam's farm. The tension in the car was palpable, but I couldn't afford to let fear or anger cloud my judgment. Emma needed me. As we approached Sam's property, we parked the car a distance away and approached on foot. The farmhouse loomed in the distance, its lights casting eerie shadows. We moved quietly, sticking to the cover of trees until we reached the edge of the property. Through the window, I saw Emma sitting on the couch, looking scared but unharmed. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by determination. I turned to Kerry. "We need to get her out fast and quietly." Kerry nodded. "I'll create a distraction. You grab Emma and get out of there. We'll meet back at the car." I nodded and Kerry moved off to the side of the house. Moments later, I heard a loud crash and the sound of barking dogs. Sam's voice boomed and he stormed out of the house towards the noise. I seized the opportunity, slipping in through the back door. Emma looked up, her eyes wide with relief and fear. "Dad." "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here to take you home." I scooped her up and we made our way back towards the car, my heart pounding in my chest. As we reached the tree line, I heard Sam's furious shout behind us. "Thomas, you think you can just take her?" We ran, not looking back until we were safely in the car and speeding away. My heart raced, but Emma was safe in my arms. And that was all that mattered. We drove through the night, heading straight to the nearest police station to ensure Emma's safety and to report what had happened. The officers took our statements and assured us that they would handle Sam from here on out. As dawn broke, I held Emma close, exhausted but relieved. This ordeal had shown me the lengths I would go to protect my daughter. No matter what happened next, I knew I had the strength to face it. Kerry put a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You did it, Thomas. She's safe now." I nodded, feeling the weight of the past weeks lift slightly. We did it, and I won't let anyone threaten my family again. As we drove home, I felt a renewed sense of determination. Molly and her family had tried to tear us apart, but Emma and I were stronger. We would face whatever came next together, and no one would ever take her from me again. The next morning, the police returned to Sam's farm to investigate further. They found only Molly sitting alone in the living room, looking defeated and exhausted. Sam had vanished, leaving his truck behind. It appeared he had another vehicle stashed away, using it to make his escape. Molly was taken into custody for questioning. At the police station, she was adamant that she had no idea about Sam's plans to kidnap Emma. Her face was pale, her eyes red and puffy from crying. I arrived at the station with Emma, who was being looked after by one of the officers. I was filled with a mix of anger and relief. Emma was safe, but the ordeal had left its mark on both of us. When I saw Molly sitting in the interrogation room, a wave of emotions washed over me: anger, betrayal, and a hint of pity. An officer escorted me to the room where Molly was being held. As I walked in, Molly looked up, her eyes widening with a mixture of guilt and hope. "Thomas," she said, her voice trembling, "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what Sam was planning." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Molly, this has gone too far. First the affair and now this? How can I trust anything you say?" She looked down, tears streaming down her face. "I know I've made terrible mistakes. I'm so sorry, Thomas. I never meant for any of this to happen." "Sorry doesn't cut it," I replied, my voice cold. "You let Sam take Emma. You put our daughter in danger." "I didn't know," Molly cried, her voice breaking. "I thought she was safe with you. When I found out what Sam had done, I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. Please, Thomas, you have to believe me." I stared at her, my heart aching with the weight of her words. Despite everything, a part of me wanted to believe her, to forgive her, but the damage was too deep. "Why did you come here, Molly?" I asked, my voice softer but still firm. She wiped her tears away, looking up at me with pleading eyes. "I came here because I had nowhere else to go. Sam was the only one who supported me. I never imagined he would do something like this. Please, Thomas, I'm begging you, I need another chance, for Emma's sake, for our family." I shook my head, feeling a surge of anger. "Our family? You destroyed our family, Molly. You cheated on me, you lied, and now our daughter has been through a nightmare because of you. How can you ask for forgiveness after everything you've done?" Molly sobbed, her shoulders shaking. "I know I don't deserve it. But I love Emma and I love you. I made a terrible mistake. But I want to make it right. Please, Thomas, give me a chance to prove it." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions inside me. "Molly, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But for Emma's sake, I'll consider it. But understand this, you have to earn it, and it won't be easy." She nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything you ask. Just please let me be a part of Emma's life." I looked at her, seeing the desperation and regret etched on her face. "We'll take it one step at a time. For now, you need to cooperate with the police and help them find Sam. He's a danger to all of us." "I will," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, Thomas." As I turned to leave the room, I felt a mix of relief and uncertainty. Molly's plea for forgiveness was genuine, but the scars of her betrayal ran deep. It would take time to heal, and even then, I wasn't sure if we could ever truly mend what had been broken. I walked back to where Emma was waiting, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. I hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of the past few days lift slightly. For her sake, I would try to navigate this uncertain path, but I would do it with caution and a fierce determination to protect her from any more pain. As we left the station, I felt a sense of resolution. Molly's future in our lives was uncertain, but for now, Emma and I had each other, and that was enough. We would take things one day at a time, and together we would find our way forward. Back at home, I tucked Emma into bed, reassuring her that she was safe and loved. As I sat by her side, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. No matter what lay ahead, I would always be there for her. Molly's plea for forgiveness was the beginning of a long, difficult journey, but it was one we would face together with love and resilience. A few weeks after the incident with Sam, life began to settle into a new routine. Emma was slowly recovering from the ordeal, and I was doing my best to be there for her, providing stability and love. Molly had been cooperative with the police, but Sam was still on the run, leaving a shadow of uncertainty over our lives. One afternoon, as I was preparing dinner, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number, but I answered it anyway, curiosity getting the better of me. "Hello?" "Thomas, it's Greg." I stiffened at the sound of his voice. The last time we had spoken was during the confrontation at his house, and I had no desire to hear from him again. "What do you want, Greg?" "Look, I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I need to meet with you. I owe you some money, part of what Molly transferred to me. I want to give it back." My initial reaction was suspicion. Why now? What was his real motive? "Why should I believe you? I get it. You have no reason to trust me, but I swear I'm trying to make amends. Meet me at the cafe on Elm Street tomorrow at noon. We can talk then." I hesitated, but something in his voice sounded genuine. "Fine, but if this is some kind of trick..." "It's not. I'll see you tomorrow." The next day, I arrived at the cafe a few minutes early, scanning the room for Greg. He was sitting at a corner table, looking noticeably different, more subdued, almost repentant. I approached him cautiously, ready for anything. "Thomas," he greeted me, standing up and extending his hand. I shook it reluctantly and took a seat across from him. "Let's get this over with," I said, my tone cold. Greg nodded and pulled an envelope from his jacket, sliding it across the table. "This is part of the money Molly gave me. I want to return it to you." I opened the envelope and saw several bills inside. "Why the sudden change of heart?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I've had a lot of time to think since everything went down. I realized how much damage I caused. I'm sorry for my part in all of this." I studied his face, looking for any signs of deceit. "You expect me to believe you've suddenly turned over a new leaf?" "No," he admitted. "But I wanted to congratulate you on getting Emma back. I heard about Sam, and I hope that psychopath is found soon. No child should have to go through that." I nodded, still wary. "Is that all?" Greg hesitated, then leaned forward. "There's something else you should know. When Molly and I were together, she said a lot of things about you, unpleasant things." I felt a surge of anger. "What are you talking about?" "She used to complain about you constantly," he continued, his voice low. "She said you were cold, unloving, obsessed with your work. She made it sound like you were the worst husband imaginable." His words cut deep, and I clenched my fists under the table. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think you deserve to know the truth," he said, meeting my gaze. "I don't know if she's genuinely sorry or if she's just trying to manipulate you again. But you should be aware of what she really thought about you." I stood up, my mind racing with a mix of emotions. "I need to go." "Thomas, wait," Greg called after me. "I know I've hurt you and I'm sorry, but you deserve better. Don't let her fool you again." I walked out of the cafe, feeling a storm of emotions brewing inside me. Greg's words echoed in my mind, casting doubt on Molly's recent pleas for forgiveness. Had she truly changed? or was this just another layer of deception? When I got home, I found Emma playing in the living room, her laughter filling the house with warmth. I forced a smile and joined her, trying to push the doubts aside. But as the evening wore on, Greg's words kept resurfacing, gnawing at my mind. Later that night, after putting Emma to bed, I sat in the living room staring at the envelope of money on the coffee table. Molly had been cooperative, attending therapy and making an effort to reconnect with Emma and me. But now I couldn't help but question her sincerity. I decided to confront Molly. I called her and asked her to come over, needing to hear her side of the story. She arrived a short while later, looking nervous but hopeful. "Thomas, what's going on?" she asked, taking a seat. "I met with Greg today," I said, watching her reaction closely. She flinched slightly but composed herself. "Why?" "He wanted to return some of the money you gave him," I replied, holding up the envelope. "And he had some things to say about you." Molly looked down, her hands trembling. "Thomas, he told me what you used to say about me," I interrupted, my voice hard. "That I was cold, unloving, obsessed with my work. Is that true? Is that how you really felt about me?" Tears welled up in her eyes and she shook her head. "Thomas, I was angry and confused. I said things I didn't mean because I was trying to justify my own actions. But I never stopped loving you." I wanted to believe her, but the doubts lingered. "How can I trust you, Molly? How do I know this isn't just another manipulation?" She reached out, taking my hand. "I know I've hurt you deeply. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that I've changed. I want to be a better person. For Emma and for you." I pulled my hand away, standing up and pacing the room. "You need to understand how hard this is for me. I'm trying to protect Emma and myself from more pain." Molly nodded, wiping her tears. "I understand, and I'm willing to earn your trust back, no matter how long it takes." I looked at her, searching for any signs of deceit. She seemed genuine, but the scars of her betrayal were still fresh. "We'll take it one step at a time," I said finally. "But if I find out you're lying to me again, it's over, for good." She nodded, relief and determination in her eyes. "Thank you, Thomas. I won't let you down." As she left, I felt a heavy weight settle on my shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with doubt and mistrust. But for Emma's sake, I would try. I owed her that much. As the night wore on, I sat by Emma's bedside, watching her sleep peacefully. She was my anchor, my reason for pushing forward. Whatever the future held, I knew I had to be strong for her. And with that resolve, I prepared myself for the difficult journey ahead, determined to protect my family from any further harm. The days following my conversation with Molly were filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. I tried to take things one day at a time, focusing on Emma and our routine. Molly continued to make efforts to regain my trust, attending therapy and spending time with Emma. But despite her efforts, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts. The scars of her betrayal were too deep, and the words Greg had shared haunted me. One morning, as I was making breakfast for Emma, I noticed an envelope lying on the doorstep. It hadn't been there the night before, and the cameras I'd installed showed no activity. Someone had disabled them briefly during the night, leaving the envelope behind when they turned back on. Feeling a knot of apprehension in my stomach, I picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside was a letter, written in a scrawled, familiar handwriting. It was from Sam. "Thomas, don't bother trying to find me. By the time you read this, I'll be long gone. I've crossed the border into Mexico, far beyond the reach of your law or the Mexican police. I'm in places where even the bravest fear to tread. Here I can live in peace, free from your interference. But don't think for a moment that you've seen the last of me. You did wrong by Molly. You failed to love her as she deserved, and you pushed her into Greg's arms. For that, fate will punish you. And perhaps one day I will too. You might feel safe now with your cameras and your precautions. But remember, Thomas, I'm always watching. You will never know when or where, but my presence will be a shadow over your life. The justice you seek will never be yours, for it is I who will deliver it. Live your life, take care of Emma. But never forget, I am out there, and one day you will pay for what you've done. Sam." I read the letter twice, each word sinking in with a mix of fear and anger. Sam's threat was clear, and his escape to Mexico meant that he was beyond the reach of conventional justice. The realization that he was still out there, harboring his grudge, left a cold dread in my heart. Emma walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Dad, what's for breakfast?" I quickly folded the letter and slipped it into my pocket, forcing a smile. "Pancakes, sweetheart, your favorite." As I cooked breakfast, my mind raced with thoughts of Sam. His threat was real, and I couldn't dismiss it. I had to find a way to protect Emma and ensure our safety, despite the shadow that now loomed over us. After breakfast, I called Kerry and explained the situation. He arrived shortly after, his face grim as he read the letter. "This isn't good, Thomas," he said, handing the letter back. "We need to take this seriously. Sam's clearly unhinged, and he's capable of anything." "I know," I replied, feeling a surge of frustration. "But what can we do? He's in Mexico and the police can't touch him there." "We can't control what Sam does, but we can control how we respond," Kerry said firmly. "We need to increase security measures, stay vigilant, and make sure Emma is always protected." Over the next few days, Kerry and I worked to fortify my home even further. We upgraded the security system, added more cameras, and established a network of trusted neighbors who agreed to keep an eye out for anything suspicious. I also contacted the local police, sharing the letter and asking for their increased presence around the neighborhood. Despite these measures, the sense of unease never fully left. Every shadow, every unexpected noise reminded me of Sam's threat. But I refused to let fear control our lives. Emma deserved a childhood free from the specter of danger, and I was determined to provide that for her. One evening, as Emma was playing in the living room, Molly arrived for her scheduled visit. She looked nervous, her eyes searching mine for any sign of forgiveness. "Thomas, I know things are still uncertain between us," she began. "But I want you to know that I'm here for Emma. Whatever happens between us, she's our priority." I nodded, appreciating her sincerity. "I know, Molly, and I'm trying to move forward for Emma's sake. But it's hard." "I understand," she said softly. "And I'll keep working to regain your trust no matter how long it takes." As she spent time with Emma, I found myself reflecting on the choices that lay ahead. Sam's letter had added another layer of complexity to an already difficult situation. Forgiving Molly and rebuilding our relationship seemed even more daunting now, with the constant threat hanging over us. Later that night, as I sat alone in the living room, I pulled out Sam's letter once more. His words were a stark reminder of the dangers we faced, but they also fueled my resolve. I wouldn't let him control our lives. I would do whatever it took to protect my family. The path forward was uncertain, but I knew one thing for sure. I would face it with strength and determination. For Emma's sake, I would ensure that we lived a life free from fear. And as for Molly, only time would tell if trust could be rebuilt. But I was willing to try, one step at a time. As the night grew darker, I felt a glimmer of hope. Despite the threats, despite the past, we had the power to shape our future. And with that hope, I prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together we could overcome anything.